All right, moving on then, coming to the US and India trade deal talks now. ET now has learned from sources that a US trade team is likely to visit India on the 25th of August. And this will be the sixth round of talks for India-US trade deal. My colleague Sumita Karir is now joining us with the details of that. Sumita, take us through the details of this visit.
Sources suggest that a team from the United States will be visiting India on August 25th for the sixth round of negotiations for the proposed bilateral trade agreement between the two countries. Remember, India and the United States concluded talks for the fifth round of negotiations for the agreement last week in Washington. It was led by India's chief negotiator, Rajesh Agarwal, his team, and of course, Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for South and Central Asia, Brendan Lynch, from the side of the United States. Meanwhile, both sides, they continue to hold negotiations virtually ahead of the August 1 deadline, which essentially marks the end of suspension of tariffs, relief on tariffs rather, that was imposed by Donald Trump's administration. And for India, that tariff rate was at 26% in April. So India is definitely seeking a removal, some ease coming in on that 26% tariff rate. Besides, it's also looking at easing of tariffs on steel and aluminum and the auto sector. Remember, these issues are an important part of the trade pact negotiations. Meanwhile, India has continued to harden its position on the US's demand for duty concessions on agri and dairy products. New Delhi so far has not given any duty concessions to any of its trading partners in a free trade agreement in the dairy sector. And of course, in this case as well, it is maintaining that stance. Remember, the two countries are looking to conclude for the first tranche of the proposed BTA by fall this year. And before that, they're looking for an interim trade pact, is essentially what sources suggest. But before August 1, will there be a pact, or will India continue to have those high tariffs, or will there be an ease on tariffs the Donald Trump administration will be deciding upon? Well, those remain the big questions.
All right, thanks, Sumita, for getting us those details and keeping us up to date with India and US trade deal latest updates. But moving on, let's also get on board Srinjoy Chaudhary, who's joining us on the phone line with more perspective on what Trump's comments could mean for India. Right. So what are you making of these comments coming in, on India, the kind of tariffs that we are looking at, 20 to 25% is something that Trump says could be imposed on India. What are you making of these developments?
Well, whatever Donald Trump says, the opposite is something he considers the next day. So we don't know what President Trump is thinking today, because all these things were said yesterday. Now, it's very important to note that India is going to make certain things very clear to the United States. Apart from everything else, the first thing India has said is that, look here, you wanted something on your whiskeys, we gave it to you. You want something on your motorcycles, we gave it to you. Let's keep this negotiation below radar. That is something which is almost impossible for the U.S. president. So every day you hear something or the other. But India is making one point very clear, that regardless of everything else, don't forget, India has told America, your per capita income is at about $50,000-$60,000. India's is $3,000. You guys are friends of India. Keep that in mind. Now, that is an issue that India is making it very clear. Let's hope the Americans actually realize this and negotiate in a way that is appropriate.
Point taken, Srinjoy. Thank you so much for coming on board and weighing in on the US and India tariff deal. But even as trade talks continue, Donald Trump, while replying to reporters on the Air Force One, said that tariffs on India could be anywhere between 20 to 25%, adding that the two nations remain good friends, but the deal is not finalized yet.
They are going to pay 25%. They're my friends, and he's my friend. And, they ended the war with Pakistan at my request, and that was great. And Pakistan did also. We did a lot of great settlements, including the recent one, as you know, with Cambodia, So That was a great one. I think that's been pretty well finalized now, right? India's been a good friend, but India has charged basically more tariffs than almost any other country. You know that, right? Over the years. But now I'm in charge, and you just can't do that. I think the trade deals are working out very well, hopefully for everybody, but for the United States, they're very, very good.
All right, moving on. Now, the US-China tariff